is Christina Barr, and you're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today Elon Musk has won, apparently. Reportedly, there was news bursting that they were finishing up and that Twitter was accepting the original offer, which is just so boss, because he was like, this is my best, this is my final, and apparently they're going to take the 43 point whatever billion dollars and sell him the company. So what's going on here is this is a big shift realignment, which is interesting that Elon is dedicated to free speech, yet you had Obama. It seems a little suspicious that last weekend he gave this speech about misinformation, and I think they're going to spark real big debates about regulation because they do not want to lose. Their weapon is information, always has been, and they realize that they don't want to give Republicans any chance to win. And the big problem is information, that they've had a war, they've had a lock on information as far as entertainment, a monopoly on it, shifting our minds, our values, our culture throughout the years. So they have that. They've been forcing their hand with corporations as they get more woke and other stuff like that. But social media has been a big thing that they've been able to control, and they really had a big hand in the 2020 election. They're aware of that. So someone like Elon Musk buying Twitter and saying, hey, we need free speech, that scares the crap out of them. So they are going to fight for a need for regulation for social media, saying that it's a moral good, I suppose, or for the sake of our democracy. And it's amazing that the Democrats will be the one trying to make this case, but Obama specifically, because I mean, you like your doctor and keep your doctor. That was all a lie. We went over that last week, went back to the past, and the architect for Obamacare was caught saying several times that they could only get it passed due to the ignorance of the American voter. I think he said stupidity. Specifically, he said stupidity of the American voter. So Democrats, and I've said this several times, and I'll keep saying it because it's absolutely true, they rely on their voters being emotionally charged rather than factually informed. They need them to believe lies in order to get the crap that they want passed, period. And it's really no different, but they really are tipping their hand. So we have to do what we have to in order to stop them. I also, Taylor Lorenz, we talked about the Libs of TikTok, Washington Post story quite a bit. She went on Brian Stelter's show to defend herself. She did raise up some of the valid criticisms that Republicans and conservatives have against the Washington Post, but he just kind of let her get away with that crap, I think. And he may lose his job at CNN, and if anyone deserves to, it's him. Like, I feel bad for like hearing about people cry at CNN Plus. You know, some of those people losing their jobs, not knowing what was next. That sucks. That sucks. And I've been in that situation where I was concerned after thinking that I had something in the bag for a while, and it ended up working out for me, by the way. But I just can sympathize with those people who are upset, crying and stuff. Brian Stelter, he's a hack and a liar, and they know that the Washington Post did a bad thing with their story Libs of TikTok. And I'm going to play some of the snippets of it because her reasoning is insane. And I'm torn between her being genuinely insane or just gaslighting everyone. So we're going to talk about that as well. And some other things. But before we jump into it, I do want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different articles that I have on my website. I did just drop one yesterday. Republicans in Michigan, we did have an endorsement convention. I wasn't there, but gosh, it sounds like I think they didn't end everything until like 9 o'clock. And I used to work for the party, and it would be a long, exhausting day. if we had to leave at like 4 when they dismissed us or whatever. So I just can't imagine going that long. There's some different issues that they had, and they had to do run a couple different, 2 ballots and stuff. But they have the people who came out on top. Trump endorsements did end up winning the day with Matt DePerno for Attorney General and Christina Carano as Secretary of State. She's been on my show before. She will be back again. She told me after convention, because life was kind of so hectic for her last time I talked to her about it. So she'll be back on the show, but she is now the person who's going to be on the November ballot. And she is my friend, and I tell you guys that. And when it comes to her, I'm pretty biased. And she is an amazing person. And I did write an article. The CBS, NBC, BuzzFeed, they're doing pieces on her. They're trying to paint her as, a conspiracy theorist, but I do have a personal outlook. So I did write an article about her and watching her journey, because when she told me I was one of the first people she called when she decided to run, because she wanted to let me know before she announced it and stuff. And I was stunned. I was concerned, because I'm just thinking, how are you gonna raise that kind of money? How are you going to get, it's really hard to get all that support. And if you get grassroots support, there's still people going to try to take you down. And I had just come, from doing a race for my oldest sister. She ran for chair of the Michigan Republican Party. And those folks did some crazy stuff. They were mailer. I don't understand spending mailers and all that kind of money in that kind of race, but whatever. People had mailers, they had lies on it. They accused my sister of being pro-choice, which people really backfired, because people were like, how can you accuse someone of being for killing innocent babies? So they just thought that was evil. So that backfired. Some people we got threatened and other stuff. So stuff got hit pieces in the mail, in the newspapers, all kinds of different things. So it was just crazy. And I just knew it would be hard. And but she had a really good plan and drive. And I asked her, what would you say when people question you about your experience? And she said, we weren't really designed to continuously have career politicians. These were like farmers and whoever, and they came, and she said a lot better than I'm telling you, repeating it back. But she's like, we've been conditioned to accept this idea of career politicians, and to basically oust and disqualify everyday American citizens from participating in the process. I'm like, that's a really good answer. And so she ran her race, and she's going to be on the November ballot. And I give her all the compliments in the world. And so there's a lot of people smearing my friend and coming for my friend right now. So if you could just go to my website, get that article, just share it around so people just can know the real Christina. And it's on I share it on my Facebook, share it on my Twitter, but it's on my website. So please send her much love and support. And if you're from Michigan, I hope that you will vote for her in November. And we got some other great candidates. I actually did the video for Linda Lee Tarver, who's running for school board. And it's a really good video. Not to toot my own horn, but it deserves some tootage. So even the media was like, Linda Lee Tarver just came out with a video that could only be described as a movie trailer. And I'm like, yes, they're talking about me. Yeah. So it was cool, at least to see it from the perspective of just everybody observing, and the media being, I don't know if they were concerned or blown away or what. But it was a good weekend for some people that I really care about. So just wanted to share. I do want to thank Brighton, Michigan PAC. I know they're busy on the weekend. I'm in their studio, and I do appreciate the space being in the studio. If I say something today that triggers you, they don't care. I don't care. It doesn't work like that. But you're just going to have to, I don't know, get a black tea mug or something and collect your little tears in there. No one can fire me. It doesn't work like that if you're trying to intimidate me. They just allow, me to use a space, and I appreciate them and all the work that they do in the state of Michigan. So, and elsewhere, but particularly in Michigan. So before we jump into Elon Musk and the juicy news of the day, I do have a comic from G Prime 85, George Alexopoulos. This has not much to do with a lot, but just like a comic, oh, you'll never take me alive. It's like a scene from I don't know, action film or whatever, like you see in the 80s and stuff blowing up, and saying, "Oh my gosh, look at those gas prices." And I thought it was so funny. And actually, I saw my sister comment under this when I saw it on Twitter, and Ben Shapiro had retweeted it too. And if you're watching an old film and you see the gas prices, isn't that like you can have explosions, Godzilla, all kinds of crazy stuff, Gundams fight? I guess it would be Gun. I guess it would be more like an anime thing, not Gundams, but like I don't know, Power Rangers, whatever fighting, and you'd see some signs and it has gas like that, and you're like, man, that's amazing, as if that's the fantasy. As if that's the fantasy. So of course those prices aren't like that nowadays. They're quite high. They're not as high as they have been since I guess they started dipping in emergency reserves and other stuff like that, and maybe things have cooled a little bit, but they're like, you guys can comment how high your gas is. I think it's 397, maybe 379, maybe the lowest I've seen. That's about what it is right now, I think, right now in Michigan. But man, I do remember when it was like $2 or less. Or one in the 180s, like back when Trump was president. It had gotten really, really, really low. Really low. But here's to better days in the future in 2024. Okay, first thing I want to mention, of course, the biggest news of the day is Elon Musk has obtained Twitter. He had his original offer, and he said, "This is my best and final." And you heard all these, like, the shareholders didn't seem like or at least the board didn't want to do it. You had all these journalists and liberals and all these folks who didn't want it to happen. Liberal politicians didn't want it to happen, and they were seeking other people to buy it. That it is a lot of money, even for Elon Musk. And he's got to have a heck of a plan. But if he just did it really I'm sure he does have a plan and a way that he assumes that he's going to be able to make a good profit off of Twitter. But what if he did solely do this because he saw as a huge need? Because this all spanned off amazingly. Or at least you had a rock slide, I guess, that basically happened. I don't know when he first started mulling it over, but it was pretty clear that when the Babylon Bee got suspended from Twitter, that he decided to take action. And he had his poll about free speech or how it's important for democracy, and asked people, do you feel that this platform does that? And overwhelmingly people said no. That he, not too long after that, he made an offer. So it's pretty amazing that he stuck up for a friend like that, for a friend and a company like that. And it's amazing that also spawned off because the Babylon Bee did a tweet, and it's a parody site for those of you who don't know, a political parody site. And they said Rachel Levin is our man of the year. And Rachel Levin had won Woman of the Year, one of the spots for USA Today. If you don't know who Rachel Levin is, that's our in U.S. as a health secretary, assistant health secretary, and is a trans woman, meaning is a man. Twitter didn't like that, and they said it was hateful conduct or speech or whatever. They asked them to remove it, and they said, it's true, we're not removing it. So the Babylon Bee's been like locked out of their account. Now, of course, I mentioned this. They could have just removed it and allowed them to come back on the site, but they wanted them to remove it. So they said, we are not removing it. It is true. And if that means we won't have our Twitter account, we just won't have our Twitter account. So Elon Musk did reach out to them to make sure it was legit before all this started going down. So it's really, really amazing. The faith, if they are Christians over at the Babylon Bee, I'm like, I don't know if everyone is, but I'm just like, the favor of the Lord, guys. You have friends in such high places to just buy the whole company. That's the whole platform. That's really incredible. That's really incredible that they showed that tenacity, and it ended up having such a huge domino effect that Elon is doing what he's doing, and no one can stop him. No one could stop him, and I guess he was successful. But it would not have worked if they weren't brave enough at the Babylon Bee to stand up for truth. So There were other examples, like, I know Charlie Kirk got censored over 11 tweet, and then so did Tucker Carlson. Um, Twitter was like big on the misinformation stuff with COVID, and a lot of the experts got stuff wrong. A lot of the experts flat out lied to you and tried to suppress information, but they'll call stuff disinformation. There was, of course, the locking out of um, the Hunter Biden laptop story with the New York Post, which that story was absolutely true. And banning Trump on Twitter was ridiculous. And they could have, if they would have, and the tweets they got rid of him for were also ridiculous. They could have went in his history and flagged probably like 100 things and said, you know what, you're a bad person, you're no longer president, all these tweets are hate speech, and you're gone. They could have justified it trying to do that, but they're like, oh, Trump tweeted that he won't be at the inauguration, and that could signal people to attack because he won't be there. What? Like, is that some wishful thinking on your part, Twitter? As you inject that into the atmosphere among all these people? So I'm glad that this has happened. This is going down. Like I said, they tried to stop him, but I don't think it's a coincidence. And other people like Jack Posobiec has pointed out that Obama did just give a speech on misinformation and the threat to our democracy. And we did talk about this, and we did go down memory lane with Obama because they relied on lying to the American people to get Obamacare passed. He campaigned all across the country repeating the lie of, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. If you like your plan, you can keep your plan. They knew that wasn't true. And even how the system was set up, people didn't understand it, or they lied about how it was, going to work. And basically they explained it as like they didn't explain it like a Ponzi scheme, but behind closed doors they explained it was kind of more along the lines of like a Ponzi scheme almost. And that the American people wouldn't have gone for it if it had been explained in the way that it was supposed to operate. So so they wouldn't, the American people would not have been comfortable with the truth. So you lie to them. You lie to them. Obama, in his administration, I don't know how many people remember this, but they did target the IRS. They used the IRS to target conservatives. Like certain words got flagged, like patriot, for example. If you certain words that they thought would be associated with the right, they did get flagged. And there was quite a few scandals in the Obama administration. Some people think the only scandal Obama had was wearing a tan suit for some reason. But absolutely not true. There are several things that happened, but people just didn't want to associate and tie these negative things back to Biden. It, like when they were spying on journalists, even like the media was like, "That's not cool. Like that's actually a scandal." Like there are other scandals, but that's what they acknowledged as a scandal. There was Fast and Furious, but a big thing that they lied about, of course, was Benghazi. If we remember Benghazi, correct? It wasn't just a movie; it was a real life event. And they went around lying that the motivation of the attack on the embassy was a video that was like critical about Muhammad or something, and it didn't even have a lot of views. Like out of all the things to just say sparked that attack, it was crazy. And they even repeated that lie at the funeral of the dead soldiers. So a lot of people pin that on Hillary Clinton for lying and ignoring like security information, and that there were warnings and other stuff like that. She had to sit through a long hearing. But who do you think she was covering for? The truth of the matter is that Obama was going through re-election. They just didn't probably want people to see him as weak and incompetent as far as that went, and tried to blame it on a video, be like, oh, we offended them, therefore they attacked, and we Americans, we don't stand by this hateful rhetoric. And it's like, that's not true how that happened, but that's still no excuse, man. They just didn't want Obama to seem especially particularly weak on the foreign policy, and he ended up winning his reelection. And I was still working at Target at the time. I had to go in at 4 a.m. Was so upset, I barely got any sleep, and people were excited. Their guy Obama won, and I would go around asking people like, "Do you know what Benghazi is, or what happened in Benghazi?" And like, "What's that?" And so I was just like, "Oh my gosh." So for people out there, people have a lot of strong feelings about the election and what happened in 2020. But let me just say this: however you feel, if you find it impossible that Joe Biden could have gotten 81 million votes, if you find it impossible, I think you're lacking perspective on the bigger picture. Democrats are very aware of the power they wield with the media, as far as uh, CNN, NBC, all that, NPR, all that stuff. They're very aware of the power of these woke corporations, of what they've been doing in Disney and other big media taking over. It's amazing how much I used to love Marvel in and DC Comics and stuff, and I just could not be bothered. The Doctor Strange film was one of my favorites as far as like the standalone ones, and I'm definitely not going to see the Doctor Strange film. They're like, "You're just done with it." I'm like, "I'm done with it." And I didn't like Endgame, so I guess I'm glad that kind of killed my buzz a bit. It made the separation a bit easier, I guess, but um probably couldn't pay me to see the Thor film. Well, I don't know, maybe you could pay me, but yeah, I'm not gonna say my free will. Maybe the pay thing is going a little too far, but um, but I don't want to see those films. But a lot of that is sparked from the fact that I know they've taken all these beloved characters and they've used their name, they've used their legacy, and they've hollowed them out, and they have something else wearing their skin. If like, and I've talked about this before, there was a Captain America comic book and the Red Skull had like a 10 rules for chaos or something like that. It was like a knockoff, clearly making fun of Jordan Peterson, comparing him to the Red Skull. And then Captain America was talking to a police officer, talking about the kind of men that associate themselves with the Red Skull, which, if you how you read it, I'm like, well, this actually describes the left to a T, but okay. But I'm like, you're not only attacking this man, he's a doctor. He helps people. These men who've been helped by Jordan Peterson, you're also attacking them too. So I was disgusted, and I'll have to go maybe to a big video about it one day. And I know I've talked about it but before at length, but I'm just done with a lot of this stuff. But they do realize the power. This has been a long term goal. As a matter of fact, Ben Shapiro, I think maybe one of his first books was called Primetime Propaganda, and he went around just interviewing Hollywood folks. And I don't know, maybe they just trusted him and didn't, think about his conservative, that he might have had conservative leanings and stuff. But they talked about how they wanted to change topics and culture on certain things. They realized the power of their industry, and everybody does, but it's like, what are you trying to say, and how you're trying to move the culture. Like Bill Cosby, in when he did his show, and you had gosh, the actress Lisa Bonet, I think, who was got pregnant on the show, and they're like, well, you could do one where she, I don't know, and he's like, we can't have her on the show. I'm not about to have teen pregnancy like on the show. I'm not about to have that be a thing. That's not what he wanted to project out into the culture. So a lot of things you can say about Bill Cosby. That he was trying to protect the minds of young Americans everywhere. I probably particularly Black Americans didn't want to project that was okay. So she ended up like coming back, but she was married and she had a child. And I think that's like what Raven Simone popped up on the show. I'm remembering things correctly. So they understand the power of this stuff. So and music and celebrity. So as long as they have the monopoly on all these things, yeah, they want a popular vote. Yeah, they want mail-in voting. They want all these things because they know if they have the raw numbers, and then they have the advantage, as long as they have the monopoly on information and control how you receive it. But if you can start getting an even playing field, if companies kind of go back to being neutral, if the right starts making culture and they get good at it, like content and they get good at it, um, that's gonna be a problem, a real big problem. So their next thing is to do big censorship, which when Trump was talking about like taking away protections and doing things to punish companies like Twitter or whatever that didn't adhere to free speech, you have the Democrats that are going to probably push for regulation so you can censor these folks because they see it as a threat. It is a threat, but it's a threat to them, not democracy. So Obama's full of it. I'm glad Elon won. Um, what he's doing is really important. I hope he can turn things around. Now, just because he has purchased it doesn't mean that Twitter's just going to change. Which there are people leaving, claiming they're going to leave, deactivate their accounts, blah blah blah. There's people who are saying they're going to come back. There's people who are waiting for Trump to come back. We will see what ends up happening. But people, you're going to have to change the system and the culture within Twitter because they're still banning folks. So unless maybe he'll come in and just like fire everyone and replace them. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe the Seth Dillon, I think is his name, the CEO of Babylon Bee, will be in charge, and that'll be the ultimate ownage of the libs. It would be amazing. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But it's a good day. It's a good day. You have one of the biggest counts that the left is so upset because they clearly thought that Twitter was theirs. Twitter and we tried to have alternatives with Parler and other stuff like that. And man, Apple, Google, they conspired to just crush them. To utterly crush them. So I know they've been rigging the game or trying to rig the game a lot, but they met a player who they could not defeat, which really probably makes them super upset because Elon, his company, they get, there's a relationship with the government and money and stuff that they've gotten to get some kind of stuff off the ground. So they're probably really upset because he's not fighting on their side and just fighting for everybody's side. So Godspeed to Elon Musk and may the firings commence because I'm sure there's got a lot of people in there who are just insane that you're gonna have to get rid of in order to complete his goal. Next thing I want to mention is that there are people on the left, of course, who don't like Ron DeSantis, but there are also people on the right who are very critical of Ron DeSantis and his like war with Disney. And but Disney started it and Disney is pretty egregious. So they have decided, like in Florida, Disney had like the special sort of cutout that they've had for a while that they can have like self-governorship and stuff. And so they decided to get rid of that. And I don't know realistically what all the repercussions of that is going to be as far as local people paying taxes and what will be the burden on Disney and politically what will be the gain or negative impact on DeSantis, but they're all like, you know what, we're not going to let Disney have these special protections. I suppose if they're going to come at them and declare war on parents in the way that they are. So people are saying, companies have free speech, which they do. It's a group of people that come together. They push a product, but they are people of different values. They do have free speech, and but they aren't entitled to special sort of privileges that other companies don't have. So when you have a relationship with the government, you make some kind of contract and you get some kind of special privilege, you'd assume that it's because it's going to be beneficial for the state as a whole, and also I guess the company, because why else would they make the deal? So if you start doing things that's not in the best interest of the state and you declare war on what the will of the people, because this is the parental rights and education bill is a popular bill. When people actually read the legislation, the actual bill itself and not Vox articles, people agree with it. And that's just not Republicans. That's not just independents. It's with Democrats too. Democrat primary voters who are probably more savvier than the average bear. So Disney decided to declare war. Now, so that people are just saying that Disney is using their free speech. That's not all what Disney has decided to do. They use their free speech specifically to declare war. Let's not mince their words. So let's go back to the statement that they made. Florida's HB 1557, also known as the Don't Say Gay bill, which I said this before, they did not call it the real name, the Parental Rights and Education Bill, when they released their statement, should never have passed and should never have been signed into law. Our goal as a company is for the law to be repealed by the legislature or struck down in the courts, and we remain committed to supporting the national and state organizations working to achieve that. So they said our goal as a company is for the law to be repealed by the legislature or struck down in the courts, and we remain committed to supporting the national and state organizations working to achieve that. So I would assume the goal for Disney was to make movies about princesses that sing songs and where birds sing, and you have like squirrels as sidekicks, and maybe you can have true love. Like I thought that was like the purpose of Disney, to create happiness and other things like that. I didn't know the purpose of the company Disney was to strike down laws that say that parents are entitled to know if their children have anything going on with their lives that's going to affect their mental health or well-being. I didn't know that it was Disney's goal as a company to do that. I didn't know that they were like a lobbyist group outright. I didn't know that. um, I mean, I thought they just wanted to make superhero films and Star Wars, choir stuff, and just make people happy. I guess I knew better to a degree. I guess I could walk that back a bit, but to say that as a company, that's what we're committed to. Our goal as a company is for the law to be repealed. So again, they didn't just say we don't like this bill. That's not what they said. They didn't say we want to stand by LGBT. That's not what they said. They said they're committed to getting it struck down. So does it mean that they only give to Democrats? That's fine. If they want to do that, they can do what they want. Does that mean that they give money to LGBT activist groups that are going to work hard to not only get it struck down, but I guess probably inject more stuff into the culture, inject more stuff into your schools, inject more stuff into every sort of facet of your life, your child's life, to, I don't know, bully them in a way to comply to this? Not sure exactly where all this is going. But Disney did say that it's their goal to get it struck down. So if you are Florida and you passed a bill that was necessary, if you all you gotta do is follow a little TikTok account, and you would find incidents where to know that it's necessary. But where there have been schools and examples of teachers who've had secret meetings with children, wanted to keep them from the parents, and introduced gender confusion to those kids, and wanted to do secret plans about where they'd sleep overnight and all kinds of other stuff. And Disney said, we want to protect people who are doing that, basically, because the bill is just trying to protect the well interests of the children and to assure that the parents do have the rights to take care of their kids. It's just establishing the role of who's in charge here. Now, something happens to the child, who feeds them, who clothes them? If they die, who buries them? Who buys the casket? It's not the school district that does that. It's not the school district who does that. If the child's not being properly taken care of, do they call it? Who's the first person they point fingers to and call CPS on? The parent, right? Unless you can, it's directly the teachers and stuff. So Disney picked their side And they didn't just, and they originally they made a statement like, we stand by our LGBT, you guys are upset and we want to listen, blah blah blah. When they should have just said, you know what, they shouldn't have said anything. But if they're going to say anything, they could have internally talked to some of their folks and just been through the bill and just explain what it was, because there's so much misinformation. And talk about misinformation. Obama wants to stop misinformation. The Don't Say Gay campaign was an astronomical example of it. I don't think that made an Obama speech. So Disney could have just tried to explain the truth and hope that the fringe group within them it was just calm down. But they didn't like their original statements. There was one Disney employee who was like, I want you guys to kill this bill like you guys killed the bathroom bills. So if other legislation is going around the country and Disney's going to start empowering activist groups who are going to shut this down and fight this in the courts and other kind of stuff, does that mean it's not just going to affect Florida, it's going to affect everywhere else? So people were like, Disney made a statement. Again, it's true. They exercise their free speech, but they also declared war with that statement. So to think that they should just continue to get all kinds of special privileges, cry me a river. Cry me. Cry me a river. Oh. Cry me. Like, come on. So these squishy conservatives, like Bill Kristol and other folks are just like, these aren't the same conservatives of yesteryear. Bill Kristol's freaking lost his mind, and I've retweeted some of the crazy stuff that he said. I'm just like, who are you? Why would you say these things? He's like left the building. So people to pretend like a lot of these guys who are complaining are on the same level as Reagan, no. And Ben Shapiro, I was listening to a bit of him when he was talking today, and his view is we need some mutually assured destruction. So if the Democrats and the liberals are going to go after businesses, which they have a long history of doing, like Chick-fil-A, people didn't want to do business of Chick-fil-A because the owners are Christian. and it's not that it is not like Chick-fil-A itself as a company has discriminated against people or refused to serve gay people. You just have people in leadership who have the sin of being in a church and believing in the Bible. And you know what? It still doesn't matter. Chick-fil-A is like number one, I think, in fast food, and they're not even open on Sunday. Not even open. But you had, Little Sisters of the Poor, Cake Shop Masterpiece, repeatedly, time and time again, people going after businesses because they have religious liberty. They're trying to exercise certain things, and the left can't stand it. So here you have parents who want to take care of their kids, and the left can't stand it. So if that's the war they want to wage, I think that's crazy. I wonder if Marvel's still going to make lots of cash with the Wanda, with the Multiverse of Madness Doctor Strange film, and the new Thor trailer which came out. I thought it was kind of awful in my opinion. I'm not going to see it, and I really liked Thor, the first one, and I know I'm maybe more in the minority, but I like the second one. It was all right. The third one, you started to get a little goofier Thor, which I didn't love, but the movie was entertaining. So a lot of the silliness of the film, I forgave it, even though the content should have been darker, considering that it's like an Armageddon, everyone's dying kind of film. And and then he worked so hard, to get his new hammer in Infinity War, and then he failed with Thanos, and then they just made him into a big joke. And I understood that each cast member was to represent like a stage of grief, and he was denial. But everyone like making fun of him in his depression. No, was he denial or was he depressed? I guess he was just denial. That wasn't cool. It wasn't cool. So I don't like the route that they're going with the demasculization of Thor and other stuff. So I don't like it. There's lots of things I don't like, but I will not have my butt in theaters when that stuff breaks, and I wonder how many people feel the same way. But I'll go into more detail about that at a later time. But I think Ron DeSantis, having the guts to fight back for his state and is the right thing to do. I'm sure they'll try to maybe fight this in the courts and stuff. We'll see what happens, but I don't know. Play around, you'll find out, I guess. Let's move on to Taylor Lorenz. I got a couple clips I want to show you. She was on Brian Stelter's show. She's a person who doxed the libs of TikTok. So the libs of TikTok is an account that shows some pretty crazy stuff. I want to start off showing you guys something that the libs of TikTok showed, because people are saying there's no reason to have that bill in Florida, that these are, I don't know, so minute, I guess. They say there's no reason to have it, and then people will move the goalpost and be like, well, it's not that many cases. I'm like, how many cases of teachers inappropriately teaching things to students do you need before you decide to act? And people don't want to answer that. It can be kind of a hard number. You got people like Jen Psaki crying and blah 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 and saying they're just picking on trans kids and stuff. Okay, so libs of TikTok just takes they do a lot more stuff as the account evolved, but originally they were just posting things that libs said on TikTok freely, volunteered that information. So here's something that they recently posted. I'm gonna mute the video because it has a song in it and I don't want to get like flagged on Facebook. But the song is Mama said that it was okay. Mama said that it was quite all right. So that was a song that's on there. But other than that, you don't really need to hear the audio.
Out to play ball so we could ruin them. Mama said that it was okay. Mama said that it was quite alright. Our kind of people had a bed for the night, and it was okay. Mama told us we were good kids, and Daddy told us never listen to the ones point the nasty fingers at making fun, cause we were good kids. Don't get me wrong, I didn't have it bad.
Born in the wrong body. So it starts with a conservative, stop brainwashing our children in the classroom with your LGBT agenda. And
out to play ball so we could ruin them.
He looks and he smiles. Look at that. So they're aware of the fact that they are aware of the fact that that you do not want this in the schools. And they don't care. they find joy out of I guess you could say triggering you, but it's beyond triggering. I'm going to say grooming your kids. I know they don't like the phrase, but what am I supposed to think when you're so eager to teach sexuality and stuff to kids, especially knowing that parents don't want you to do it? The audacity to overstep your bounds like this is just utterly insane. So just play through one more time. So he's happy to brainwash your kids, mocking conservatives like a na 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 na. That's the
Mama said that it was okay. Mama said that it was quite alright. Our kind of people had a bed for the night, and it was okay. Mama told us we were good kids, and Daddy told us never listen to the ones point the nasty fingers at making fun, cause we were good kids. Don't get me wrong, I didn't have it bad.
You're like Mr. Mix and stuff. So yeah. So that's an example of something that libs of TikTok puts on there. So the Washington Post is making the case that it was important to expose the libs of TikTok, the person behind it, because they are targeting LGBT, and they are wielding other political power beyond that. They do want to energize people and have parents protect their kids from this stuff. So I'm not saying that this isn't like a newsworthy sort of account, but to expose the woman behind it, that was not necessary. That was not necessary, and it's an intimidation tactic. I know they know it's an intimidation tactic because the same person has been crying on TV about it not too long ago about online harassment. So they are well aware of what they're doing. So now that you know just an example of what Libs of TikTok will post. Let me actually show you what this interview was on CNN, Brian Stelter show, which, by the way, I hear rumors that he's going to be fired. I don't know if that'll happen, but you'll probably see me smile on that show. Like it sucks for some people to lose their job, but you're a news anchor and you lie and you do propaganda, and your show is called Reliable Sources. So anyway, here we go.
I think it's rare to see an account gain so much prominence so quickly and be shaping these narratives in such an effective way, especially against trans people. So my story was kind of long, but I really wanted to make the case like why this account mattered. And I think it's incredibly important, you know, as someone that covers the influencer industry, to know who is exerting influence in this way. I mean, for all we knew, this could have been a foreign actor, right? Or someone we just didn't know. And so
Okay, I wanted to stop right there because you said for all we know, this person could have been a foreign actor. So that's why they needed to expose him, because it could have been a foreign actor, could have been an agent of Russia or something like that. But they did find out that it wasn't that the case. They did find out that it wasn't a foreign actor. So why still the need to feel to expose this woman, which, by the way, is a Jewish woman who has a very common Jewish name, and another woman with the same name was harassed online after this piece. And then there was another like Libs of TikTok account that had like a similar name, but wasn't the real Libs of TikTok account, and people harassed that person too. So this has had some repercussions that have been bad for other people, and it was not newsworthy to post the woman's name. You can post what they're doing, but they did find out that they weren't a foreign actor before they published that piece. So and they probably knew that when they were knocking down the doors of their relatives. So she's just gaslighting so hard, and I'm torn between just being a liar or just mentally ill in some regards. You guys can let me know what you think.
Thought, hey, look, this account has massive power, massive influence. This woman is basically on an entire right-wing media tour. She gave interviews to the New York Post, Tucker, all of that, and registered as a media company, registered a trademark. So yeah, I thought it was quite important and in the public interest to find out who was running it.
So there are several arguments against your article. One is that this person's identity was simply not newsworthy.
So yeah, he did raise that point, and she just pretends that it's not newsworthy. But yeah, she definitely did not have to reveal the name. I have two more clips from the interview I would like to show you guys.
Here's the next one. The conservative supporters of this account said, you were doxing the person. You're doxing them. So can you tell us how you actually define doxing and the difference between doxing and real reporting?
Yeah, of course. Well, the word doxing has been so devalued, and it just kind of is a buzzword now in the right-wing media. Doxing means revealing highly, highly personal, non-public information with the goal of harassment or sort of destroying someone's life. We absolutely did not reveal any personal information about this woman at all.
That's a lie. That's absolutely a lie. So they found her through the registration of her site and was able to find her that way. But in the article that they originally published, they did remove this hyperlink. And riddle me this, Batman, why they need the hyperlink in there in the first place. That went back to like her real estate page, which that page did have her real information. So yes, they did reveal some personal information that was not newsworthy at all in the least bit. So, and they wrote this piece when she originally contacted Christina Pshaw and asked if she had a comment, and that's Ron DeSantis's speech set, a press secretary, a spokesperson. They said we're going to expose Libs of TikTok. So they did want to expose her, and if you tell me that they didn't want to bully and harass and try to teach her a lesson and then try to teach the next person a lesson, if that wasn't the goal, well, if someone told me that, I wouldn't believe them. They're not stupid. She's not stupid. She's played the victim about this several times. So she's already talked about this stuff at length about other people, and all she has to do is hold up a mirror and know that she's referring to herself and their own like dark, devious sort of ideas and thoughts and plans. So they lied, and I hope there's a way that they can sue her, and sue the Washington Post for putting that out there.
Remotely. And, I know that sometimes reporting practices can seem foreign to people that aren't familiar with journalism, but this was very by the book and very benign. And the thing is, the right-wing media will lie, right? They kind of just will spin up these narratives. The goal is to sow doubt and to discredit journalism. And that is their agenda. And I think we need to be prepared for that, and recognize those things for what it is. I mean, Brian, so much of what I do is try and educate people about the mechanics of these online outrage cycles and harassment, and sort of educate news organizations on how to cover it and how to understand bad faith attacks. And so I think it's really important as, us members of the media who cover media to recognize bad faith attacks when they're
all she is one bad faith attack after the other. I mean, she justifies going after them because it could have been a foreign actor. And they obviously found out that wasn't true, but decided to go after her anyway. And libs of TikTok, they post stuff that liberals say. They post stuff that liberals put on the internet themselves. They're upset because it's giving a bigger platform to eyes who maybe don't see it in the depths of that particular algorithm of TikTok, and parents see, oh my gosh, there are teachers out there who are teaching my kids that they were born in the wrong body and they can go in a special magic closet at school and change their clothes if they need to keep it a secret from me. That's the kind of stuff that libs of TikTok reveals. And I pray to God it's not as widespread as some people can get in their minds that it is. But if I just ran into a singular incident, oh my gosh, I don't know what all I do as a parent, but it makes me heated just thinking about it. Here's the last one I want to show you guys.
A lot of parents in the United States that are worried about what their kids are learning. So you say it's all about an attack?
Wait, Brian. Well, I mean, I think you can have concern about what your children are learning in school and not follow an LGBTQ hate account that's the whole goal is to get trans and LGBTQ people sort of excluded from public life and drive these very harmful narratives around trans people.
So the narratives are, this is what they say. Listen to what they've said and posted themselves. That's their account. I just showed you guys a video that libs of TikTok reposted. They didn't splice it up and cut it into different bits. It's not a gotcha clip. It was posted in its entirety. That's just the kind of stuff that the account does. So if just exposing the truth, sunlight's the best disinfectant, right? Democracy dies in darkness, right? So if just exposing these people and their words and what they say causes such a problem, perhaps they need to have conversations with their side of the aisle. If the LGBT community is embarrassed by all these people who are saying, we don't care what you guys think, we are going to smile and laugh at the fact that you conservatives don't want us to indoctrinate your kids, and I'm going to teach them that they were born in the wrong body, or you can't be born in the wrong body anyway. There's no reason to be upset at the libs of TikTok account. There's no reason. They're not attacking people specifically, I guess in a broad sense rather, but they are attacking people specifically, or just pointing out who they are. And they do want a result. They do think creepy teachers and creepy schools should not be able to have access to children. And why would you disagree with that? The question is, why do you disagree with what they're doing? The real question is, why do you disagree with what the libs of TikTok is doing? And she's like, they're just hateful. They're just attacking the LGBT. There's plenty of LGBT people who do not like these crazy teachers who overstep their boundaries. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. I guarantee it because I know a lot of people. Man, there's a lot of people who talk about it on Twitter. I mean, and Facebook. I mean, and but TikTok that are saying leave the kids alone. Leave the kids alone. So the question is, how come the Washington Post doesn't want people to be educated on the kind of stuff that's going on? They want it to remain in the dark. And how come they don't want repercussions for people who are saying, screw the parents, the child's in my classroom, it's my domain, and I get to show them the gender unicorn if I want to? Why shouldn't that person be fired?
I mean, those are two very, 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 very different things, right? She's also talked about mobilizing her base to run for local school boards and is collecting email lists, which 100% are going to be used for political purposes. So This is a political force. This is an
Wow. A lot of people have email lists, Brian. And which she may use for political purposes, and that's fine. Like, it is an account that it has basically calls to action, like wants you to be informed about this stuff, and wants people to face repercussions for the kind of crazy stuff that they say and do. So acting like it's so devious that she has a email. You guys go Black Tea and sign up for email too.
influential media force. The idea that this woman is not newsworthy is quite nonsense. You know what I mean? I cover influencers for a living, and I'm telling you, this woman is more influential than a lot of people that I cover. So it's very important. The right will make those arguments because they don't want scrutiny.
You think that's a very blunt statement for a Washington Post reporter to make? They just don't want scrutiny. They just don't want people.
Yeah, they don't. I think powerful people do not want scrutiny. They want to be able to discredit the media so that they can operate with impunity.
Okay, that's where I'm gonna end this here right now. But that's what they're doing. They don't want scrutiny, so that's why they're attacking this account, because they don't want their side to be scrutinized. So, was that an Alinsky tactic? You just accuse the other side of doing exactly what you're doing. That's what they're doing over at the Washington Post. Saying, oh, this person is just the right's upset trying to protect this account because the right doesn't want to be scrutinized. Or I agree that the account is newsworthy. I'll give her that. The influence that it has, it's remarkable. I've told several people it's one of the most important accounts to be following for sure. And I think they've broke 1 million followers now. I think when I first started doing the story, it was 600,000, maybe less than that. But it wasn't really high at 900,000. I haven't looked at it in a minute at the count of the followers, but it's high. So I'm not going to say it's not newsworthy. To post her name, I don't think that was newsworthy, because they weren't Russian disinformation folks. And they knew that before they posted it. But it certainly wasn't newsworthy and necessary to post a link to some very personal information for her. So Washington Post is full of liars. Taylor Lorenz is a gaslighter. She needs to hold a mirror up to her face. I'm sure she's aware of what she's doing. And just saying it's the right who's lying and doesn't want to be scrutinized is just utterly bonkers. But that's the world we're living in. Absolutely crazy world we're living in. Last thing I just want to point out before I go, there was a story over the weekend that there was a Texas Army National Guard soldier whose body was missing. He jumped in to save 2 people in the river, 2 migrants, and he ended up being lost. He has been found. He's 22 years old, and the people who he tried to save were drug smugglers. I don't know if he knew that at the time that he jumped in. I'm probably going to assume not, but I'm assuming this young man was just a hero and didn't really care, was just trying to save the life of some people out there who shouldn't have been out there, obviously. But another young Black life lost in Joe Biden's America. I haven't really seen the White House talk about that, but they had time to investigate people who were at the border on horses when and spread misinformation about them whipping migrants, and had a huge report on it when it was very obvious that they did nothing wrong. And then Jen Psaki was asked about that, and she like totally dodged that question, man. It's amazing how dedicated they are to narratives that are just utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous with no long-term benefit. I don't understand it myself. But I do thank you guys for joining me today. I want to encourage you guys to go blacktnews.com, check out different merchandise that I have, like the Make Crack Whack Again, Vote Trump 2024. I also got the Be Better Not Bitter shirt, really like that one. And of course, we got the Goat hoodie. So guys, go on the website and check out different merch that I have. Please make sure that if you like what I do here, consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com. Every little thing that you guys do helps. Make sure that you guys are sharing the lives around when they pop up, different videos that I put together. I'm going to do one on Obama and this misinformation, make one kind of a little bit tighter, because man, I can't stand Obama. You guys know that. People are like, well, I didn't like his policies, but I liked him. I'm like, why do you like Obama? Why? Like he lied to your face several times, gaslit the crap out of you, spied on journalists. Targeted conservatives in the IRS, said he wouldn't want his daughter punished with a baby. I'm like, dude, that's your grandkids. That is so cringe when people say that. Like, I don't want my daughter punished with a baby. That's your grandchildren. Oh gosh. Anyway, not a fan. But they're gonna be targeting social media sites like crazy. And you saw like there was the big congressional hearing or whatever about Facebook not too long ago. You know, they really want to do their best to control information because that's the way that they win. They can't win on the merits of their argument, so they have to win on misinformation. So that's one reason why I'm here doing what I do. People sometimes ask me to get back into running for something, and I'm like, guys, I feel like I'm here where I'm supposed to be at right now with the media and persuading on that side of the aisle. So no, I don't plan to run for anything very long, but if you want to help Black Tea News and you want to continue spreading Black Tea News and help it get out there, I do again encourage you to go blacktnews.com/donate and be a part of that. God bless you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.